Hey felters, and welcome. Today is the last in my series of these lovely woodland baubles that are super easy and simple to do for beginners, and I'm going to talk you all the way through today's one, which is Mr. Fox. So we've done the owl, we've done the hare or rabbit. She was the simplest. This is the fox that we're going to do today, and the badger and the squirrel. So let's get started. So this one is Mr. Fox, and the scarf I got off Amazon. He's got a big, thick, bushy tail, and I think it's one of the cutest of the lot. I do like the owl, but Mr. Fox is the next one, and I'm going to practice my foxes because I'm not very good at them, so I would like to do sort of a much bigger, better fox in the future. So we're going to do the inside of the fox. That's just one ball, and then the head is two balls on top of it, so we think of it in a really, really simple way. So I've just taken some core wool. It's not even in a really good ball shape. You can see I haven't done a good job there, so I'm really forcing it in, and this is quite a rough core wool. And just to show you, I do stab myself. It still happens. Luckily no blood was drawn, and especially with this multi-needle tool it could go badly wrong. But so I just brought it together with the multi-needle tool with my 40 spirals in, and then went to the clover pen with two 40 triangulars in. So it's really loose still, but I'm just getting a rough idea of the shape. And then we're going to put this, all the wools will be listed in the description below. So where it says more, just underneath the video, if you didn't know, press that and you'll see all the details about the wool and where to find me and my website and stuff like that, and my courses, which I'm just going to show you a little bit towards the end about my courses that I do. So we're just going to wrap this wool all the way around, and it's the same colour as we used for the squirrel. It's the Sombrero, which is a lovely multi-mix colour from World of Wool, and it's carded. Yes, I am still using the multi-needle tool, just trying to be a little bit careful. I was concentrating, I think it's just quite small, so and just felt it on loosely, and then I was going to cover up a couple of the bits that looked like they might show the join marks, but obviously carded wool is really good for not showing too many join marks. And then once I've just brought it together loosely, I'm going to move on to the clover pen here, and we're just going to measurements. So it's 3 inches across at the moment, and by the time you felt it down a bit it'll probably be 2.5. And you see the finish I get there with the clover pen. So the finish is completely fine. So you work your way all the way around, and this takes a good 20 minutes. So just enjoy it, get a cup of tea, cup of coffee or whatever, and just work your way around it, and this will firm up the ball nicely. I'm just showing you a little bit that I'm doing. I'm not going to make you sit through the whole thing. So it's quite close felting. It's not as close as if you were with a single needle. So that's why it's good with the 2 needles in the clover pen. You could put 3 in and try it, but I just don't think it penetrates the wool as easily. And you can see it's already firming it up nicely. That's firm, the rest of it's all a bit fluffy. So here we are, we've gone all the way over it. Like I said, a good 20 minutes just sitting down and doing that. And it finished up about 1/2 inch smaller, so I'd say 2.5. Your measurements don't have to be exact to mine, but fairly close will help. So here, just to show you, the head is a ball shape there, and then a little ball shape for the nose, and then we join them together. And add a little bit extra to get that slope down the nose. So I'm trying to use up just a few little odds and end bits here, so I'm sort of going to force it into a little ball shape. Just take a very small slither, maybe even half the slither if it's too big still, and then bring that together. But the measurement for this is really quite small. I will get the ruler out in a minute. And then I needed to add a bit more, because it definitely wasn't big enough. And again, look, it's not even really that round yet. I sort of bring it together in the round shape as I felt it. Some people like to tie a little knot in theirs and then fold that over, fold the ends, and that helps you get a nice round shape. I had a little bit of a fold there, which was a bit rough. So we do add some more on top anyway to help cover that, but I was trying to use up these end bits. So I'm just felting it round with the clover pen. There we go. And we will go over the head once it's all done with the nose on in fine detail with a single needle. So not too bad, but by the time you felt it down a bit, it's going to be smaller. So I do add another couple of bits, and we are just under, I'd say 1.25 inches there. So we're going to add some more bits, and I've split the slither in half there just to make it not so chunky, because if you do add, you know, a whole bit of slither, you'll find you can increase the size quite quickly by accident. So less is more. So I did one going one way and then one going the other way. And then we're just going to loosely felt that down with the clover pen. And we're going to do the tiny nose first. And once we've added it all, then we should do some more. So yeah, 1.5 there. So we're going to do a little ball that's going to go on as the nose. And then we will do a sloping bit going up the bridge. So yeah, really quite small amount of wool for this one, because by the time you fold it in on itself, you do not want a massive nose. And if it ends up being slightly elongated, that's fine, but really I sort of do a ball shape and then add a bit round the bridge of the nose. So single needle here because it's so tiny. You can wear your finger guards, of course. It's probably a good idea. This is the kind of stage that I normally poke myself. If I'm doing small items, I definitely end up stabbing myself. So just bring it together. I'm thinking of doing workshops next year. I'm definitely going to need to bring some plasters. So just to show you, the nose we're going to add slightly lower than the middle of the head. You don't want it to be too high on the head. So there's the middle, and then just slightly underneath it, because the fox's head goes up as you sort of hit the eyes, and they've got a sort of a bit of a forehead. And actually this head isn't wide enough in my opinion, so we're going to add a little bit more on the top later, you will see. So I'm just going around the second ball that I did for the nose and just attaching it at the base. And it's a really simple way. You can try and do a cone shape if you want, and do it that way. But I just think make a little ball, add a bit around the bridge, and then you sort of squash it down, and we're going to put a little black nose on the end anyway. So there we go. It's starting to look like a head. So take a really tiny section of slither, put it right around the base there, because you're going to build up the sort of slope going up the nose. Definitely how you would do a dog face as well. I'm not that good with dogs, before anyone asks. I do get asked to do certain videos, and sometimes I think I'm not good with cats, I'm not good with dogs. So but there are lots of needle felters out there with videos for definitely for cats. There's some really good ones for cats. So just felt that on and felt the end of the nose, and you're going to encourage the nose to go down to a point. And you can definitely see how it's going up when it hits the head, so that's a much better shape. So the width of the nose is about 3/4 of an inch, just to give you a rough idea, and the length is the same. I did measure the length too. So here I am encouraging the nose to go down to a point. So I put it down in the mat and I felted it down a bit, and you can also squash it with your hand. So there we go, that's looking about right. And then the bridge of it, I wanted to add a little bit more. And what I did find is, because I'd added a bit to the bridge of the nose, sometimes you lose which way is up. So I put a little felted, I just felted a line underneath, so I know that that's the bottom of the head. Sometimes that helps you, not always, but. So just felted that on loosely, and then we are going to work all the way over it with a needle and just firm it all up. So again, it actually takes, you know, a good 10-15 minutes going all the way over the head, felting it, you know, nice and firm, but you're going to be adding detail. So you don't want to add detail to something that's soft, because the detail will just sort of dissolve into it. So there we go, I've gone all the way over it. And I'm not happy that this head is wide enough. So we're going to add some more over the top, which is a bit of a pain because you have firmed it all up. But because you've firmed it all up, it's a lot quicker this time round when you add a little bit extra. So I really wanted the head to be a bit wider and a bit rounder. I didn't want it to be any lower underneath. See, the clover pen just sort of gets it all on quickly, and then we'll go back to the fine needle. And I didn't need it to be any wider at the back, because when you add the ears on the back, that'll add a little bit of shape to the back of the head. But I just wanted it to be a bit broader across the top, and that way it gives you the eyes something to sort of sit into. And by the way, when you do all the markings, you know, it doesn't matter if it's not brilliant and not perfect, it will look like a fox, so don't panic. So there we go, I've worked it all the way around again. And there's the little line I did at the bottom just to help me work out which way is up. So we're going to pop the eyes in. I'm just going to give you a length. In total it came to 2. Yeah, on the 2, I'd say 2 inches in length, and width was the 1.5, which is what we had earlier. So there we are, just checking, looks about right. Now we're going to attach the head to the base. Very simple, just felt through the bottom all the way round, and you felt either side, check it's level. The head is pretty much in the centre part of the body. It's not hanging forwards like the badger was forwards a bit. It's quite all right to do the head sort of bang smack in the centre. And then I do quite a lot of felting through the back, but on this one we're going to add a scarf around the neck, which is, I call it the scarf attachment. So you'll take a thin piece of slither, and we're going to, because we want the neck to have a sort of a slope going down, and when you do a lot of sort of attaching heads and things like this, this is the most secure way of doing it. We haven't needed to do it with the other baubles really. So just pop a scarf around the neck, and then it does take a while just going around and felting it all in. Take your time with a single needle, and we won't panic too much about the join marks that are going to show. Let me just show you underneath the scarf, that would help. There you can see how the neck sort of goes in, and it's got a nice sort of smoothness to it. So that's what we're trying to get by adding the scarf effect. So yeah, spend a bit of time working it all the way around. And as I said, see the join marks there? Don't panic too much, because guess what? I'm going to put a scarf on him. So next up we're going to do the white, and you can see the shape of it. So we're going to do the white on the chest first, and then go up and under the chin, because it's quite hard to get lines and effects. So I've sort of circled this, made it a little bit circular, not too much, and then I'm just going to attach it on in the middle area. The clover pen just helps speed it up, and then we're just going to have to sort of check and see if the tummy is even on either side. It doesn't matter if it goes too far down, that's not a problem. And with the edges, so I'm just checking it's even to the head. It looks about right. It's quite hard to see because it's so fluffy. If there's any patches, just add a bit more white. Now with the edges, you can see I'm just going to gently almost draw the line with the wool. Now, as I said before, if you've got a fine needle, do be careful when you do this, but if you use a thick needle, you can sort of define the edges quite easily by sort of drawing the wool up and along and round. But do a little bit at a time and work your way round. You'll see, I think, a little bit more with the finer needle in a minute. But I'm just working this wool on and just checking it's even all the time. So that's sort of worked on, not smooth yet. Now we're going to go under the chin, and here's the line just to show you. I'm going to do one side and then the other to make it easier. So I'm just folding the wool to get that curve. This wool is quite rough, actually, because it is a core wool. Maybe you're using a finer wool, so it'll be a little bit easier, but you can see this is quite a sort of coarse, thick wool. So I've just folded it over and literally placed that edge bit where I wanted it, and you just, so long as you've got some of it showing and going up and round, and then under the nose, like I said, don't worry if your shape is slightly different or if you want to do a different shape to me. it will still look like a fox. It's absolutely fine. So just work that under. And then once we've got the shapes on, then we're going to go over with a fine needle and smooth all this white down. So that's one side done. And then we'll do exactly the same by folding the wool and doing the other side. So there we go, and it'll just meet under the nose. So it is quite difficult and a little bit tricky. Just do it carefully. And then checking and checking, is it even, is it level? So there we go. So now we need to go over it and smooth it all down. And those really fluffy bits, don't be worried about trimming them if you can't get them in. So here I am with the fine needle, it's a 40 triangular, and I'm just gently drawing the lines again and trying to straighten them out. And that helps me get a nice edge. It is literally practice. Needle felting is practice. I always say that, and every felt you do, you will improve. You might not think you will, but you will have learnt something with every single felt. So even if you make something and you just think, oh, I don't like that, don't worry, you will have learnt something by making it. I had a lot of creations in the beginning that I didn't like. It took me a while to get to know sort of what I wanted to do. And I always try and create things that I want to make, not things that I think I should be making. You have to want to make the item because it does take a while. So yes, just doing the line, trying to get the line, and then I'll work all the way over the middle of the fox. So that's all smoothed out, and now we're going on to putting the eyes in, and the eyes literally are at the base of the nose. Almost if you were to get a needle and point them backwards and out a teeny bit, that's where you're going to have them. So get your awl, and you can literally follow the line of the nose there. And they are fairly close together. They, you know, could be a little bit wider, but I think they look absolutely fine where they are. So make a little hole, put your eye in, check, do the other one, and again, just follow the line of the nose back. You can point the eyes straight back into the head. I'm just double checking, and we're going to do a little black line afterwards, but we'll glue these in. So a little bit of Bostik all-purpose glue, a teeny amount of glue on the end. And as one of my lovely subscribers said to me, I'm sorry, I repeat myself all the time, I feel, but actually, if you're new and this is the first time you've seen it, that's why I end up repeating things all the time. So a teeny amount of glue, pop them in, and the eyes are fine. I'm going to do a little black line that goes down from the top of the eye and downwards. I don't put a black detail all the way around the eye like we did in the other animals. And I'm using a fine needle, a tiny bit of black wool. You just twizzle it a bit so it's a little bit more refined. I did too much on both of them, but that's how I like it to be. I'd rather cut some off than have to add some. And it's just over the top of the eye on both sides. So that one's just going around and over the top, and then it just points down the nose, and it only goes down about 1 centimetre. And I think it just gives a nice little bit of detail to the eye. And again, this one was too long, so I had to trim this one as well. And you know, that's very simple, but that's your eyes done, really. It's just about gently felting the black wool in. And just here, oh, we're going to do the nose, but you'll see once I've done the nose, I literally give the face a big squish with my fingers, and that really helps. So take a tiny amount of black wool. Sometimes I hold it with another needle. And then we're going to roll it between the hands just to really bring it all together. Pop it right on the end of the nose, not too low, not too high, just sort of in the middle, and then felt around the base and then check it looks right. You'll see I let go of it. Yes, I'm pretty happy with it, with where it is. So I try to felt around the base, and then I do felt a little bit through the middle because the ball's quite hard anyway. It's not going to lose its shape. You want it to have a little bit of a round shape. But here I just get my fingers and I literally squidge the face a bit more because I think my nose is a bit wide. And it looks a bit better, I think. So squidging helps too. There we go. Next we are on to, we're nearly done. We're on to the ears. So take, they're triangular. So take 2 little sections and we're going to draw the triangle onto the sections and then fold over. And we're going to use the fact that it sticks to the mat to help us do the triangle. So I start with a fine needle and then I go to the clover pen because it's a bit easier. Take out any bits. Constantly taking out bits from wool, aren't we? So draw the line and then fold it over, and you want a really nice point. So just fold the other side over, and then you should have, with literally a really thin piece of wool, the ears should be thick enough because they're so small. Leave the bottom of it fluffy because that's going to help us attach it to the back of the head. And the part of the ear that's going to be showing is not that big actually, so peel it off the mat and just have a little look. I'm doing the other ear at the same time, so it looks about right. We have got to neaten it up and put the white on, but I'm doing it at the same time as I'm doing it both ears together, so that they're definitely the same size. It really helps. You can lie one on top of the other and check they're the same size. So then take a fine needle and just felt into the edges a little bit, minding your fingers, and then felt all the way down the ear, leaving the bottom fluffy. So there we go. So they're all nice and neat. And now we're just going to do the little white triangular bit in there. So the trick here is to fold it into a triangle first, and then very gentle, shallow stabs with, this is the 40 triangular still. Try not to stab through the ear too much. Very, very, very gentle, and keep checking to see if it's the white has gone through. Now, if you're struggling with this and the white does go through, you can just add a bit more of the ginger coloured wool onto the back of the ear, but it's just trying to, you don't really want to have to add more all the time. But if it really looks bad, just add a bit more onto the other side and try not to felt that through to the white side. So just gently work your way down, and it doesn't have to be fantastically attached, but just sort of make sure it's definitely attached to the ear. And I had a little bit too much white, still not coming through, so I'm happy with that. I had a little bit too much white fluffiness left there, and it would have poked out under the ear, so I did trim this one. So that's that. And just try and shape it a bit more. So let's have a little check. I think I could put it down a little bit, not too high, and then do the same for the other ear. And we're still gently drawing the line. Now the ears go from the eye outwards. That's where they start. So you can see there, straight line down, and they point outwards from the eye. They shouldn't be too close together on the back of the head. So just hold it and then just, I call it sort of tack it into place, turn it back over, check you're happy with it, and then you can sort of go all over and start attaching it. So there we go. Yes, I'm pretty happy with that. And the other one's going to go just sort of out a bit there. They look a little bit bigger than my other ones, but that one's a bit smaller there. If they're too big, just move them down a bit so there's less of the triangle sticking out. And then going to spend a little bit of time working our way all the way over the back. This, again, it took, 5 minutes at least, sitting there, just tidying it all up. But it gives it a lovely effect and makes it look really good. So just tidy all of the fluff up at the back of the neck there. And then next we're on to, like I said, don't worry about those join marks because we're going to pop the scarf on. We're going to make a scarf as well, so you don't have to buy one off Amazon if you don't want to. I actually really like the scarf that I make on the second one. So bushy tail, and this is quite good fun. Always like doing these, quite simple and quite easy. Lay out 3 little sections of slithers that are about 3 inches wide and a tiny bit of white at the end. And then just felt a line down through the middle. It will stick to your mat, so you're going to have to very gently peel it off, but felt the line down, and then we're going to add some in the middle section just to strengthen it and give you something to felt it to the body. So you can see there it's just a little thin section through the middle. Don't do that coloured wool pointing up through the white. Stop at the ginger wool at the top, because the white is the very tip of the tail. And lengthwise it's a good 4.5 inches. I think you'll see. If you wait and see, mine was a little bit long, so maybe go for 4. My tail is probably the biggest foxtail I've ever seen, but I think it looks nice. So, and then peel it off, holding it together as you peel. Don't just pull the top, and because it'll just all come apart. I had a bit that was a bit weak there, so I just added a little bit on the back and just very gently sort of felt it in. And there we go. So we're going to, it'll be folded over once it's on the body, just to sort of show you. We're going to start at the back and work all the way around to the front, and that line is sort of where the tail is going to be. So it will help your item stand up, which is really good as well. It's quite stabilizing. So you'll start at the back in that middle line bit. Try and check underneath all the fluff that it's at the bottom of the body and it's not sort of angling up. I suppose it might look quite nice if you angled it up a bit, but and then work your way all the way around to the front. Now, as you can see, mine is quite far around the front because it's quite long, but I don't mind. I think it looks okay. And just felt it through. This doesn't take long at all. It sort of attaches really easily. And then do a little bit of the white at the top there. You are going to attach that through. Otherwise it won't have any attachment at all. So definitely do felt a little bit through the middle of the white. So we're just going to pull it together and then very gently work it with needles. And I've left this in, give you a little bit of music just to see I faff around with the tail for a while. But you're just pointing it in a direction round and you're just bringing it together, and gradually it'll come together and look good. So you see what I mean? That was about two minutes of faffing with the tail, but it sort of brings it together nicely. You could have done the white tip a little bit further back, maybe, but I think it looks all right. It's nice and fluffy, and it really helps. If you weren't doing them as baubles, it really helps them stand up, having a nice big tail. So next up, we are going to do the scarf. So the scarf I got off Amazon. This little teeny scarf. It's probably about 10 centimeters long. They're so easy because they're wool. I bought them in packs of 10, and you just felt through the middle of the scarf, just a couple of stabs, and it stays on. So they are really handy. But in case you don't want to do that, let's make a little red scarf. So take a section of wool, lengthen it out, check it's roughly long enough, and then we're going to very loosely just felt it together and then do lots of rolling between the hands. I needed this to be a little bit longer. It wasn't quite long enough. I was thinking of doing the white baubles on the end, but actually I just did it as not sort of tassely, but left it loose and fluffy, and it worked out really well. So very loosely felt it through. It's too wide here. Now you could spend ages doing a nice flat scarf, but actually just doing this, it works great. So lots of rubbing between the hands, rolling. This is starting the felting process, because wet felting is all to do with actually rubbing wool with your hands, agitating it. So yeah, it definitely is going to be the right length. And so I did spend a good 30, 40, 50 seconds of rolling this between my hands, getting it a little bit thinner, but I left the ends fluffy and I just trimmed them straight across as if it was sort of the end of a scarf. And then I felt a line about 1 centimetre up going acrossways and just pulled the ends so they looked a little bit sort of frayed edge and fluffy. Very simple. I didn't do much detail on this at all, and then do the same on the other end. And then pop it round, check which side looks the best. And I did the little join mark where it crosses over just off to the side. I thought it looked better there. And you're going to felt through the edge of the scarf. Don't felt through the middle of it because you're going to leave great big needle marks. So the edges of the scarf where it crosses over. And then the line that I had done for the tassels, you can felt that down as well. So that keeps the front of it on. And it really attaches very quickly. So that line where that frayed bit was. And then I went around the edge of the fox scarf, just to the top and the bottom. Again, not, don't want to lose that fluffiness. And I prefer that scarf. So there we go. That's Mr. Fox all, oh no, we got to do the top bit, obviously, sorry. So take your needle, push it through. The needle has to have a really big eyelet to be able to get these cords in. Otherwise I used a beading wire in my first one, or you can just use a little bit of thread. But these go on the tree really easily. I have to say, with the thick gold thread, it's much easier to hang them on the tree. So there he is with his big fluffy tail. And there's the other one. So let's have a look on the tree. There's a couple of other bits and bobs that I've been felting. And so, yeah, they're all done and they're super easy, and you can have them on trees, off trees, and you could do them all year round, to be honest, so they don't have to be Christmassy. But I hope you've enjoyed this. So I do have some online courses if you want to up your needle felting. I'll put some pictures up here. I do have PDFs on Etsy, and I obviously do lots of videos on this channel. So do subscribe. I would love a thumbs up. Who doesn't love a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video? And thanks for being here, and take care everybody, and see you again soon.